wait for him, I guess I would say we could do kind of a brief recap of things. Perhaps. We also kind of need to cover what Thamor did for a week. Potentially, depending on what Thamor wanted to do.
He just fished all week.
And punched Andros.
Yep.
I got my axe identified. There you go.
Just go up to Grimlock and be like, "Hey, I got your axe. What does it do?"
Oh, it's my axe.
I was about to say, if you actually do bring that axe to any of like the known dwarves in the main city, they're going to recognize that axe.
Uh-oh.
And
Oh god.
what are they going to do? Take it from me? I'll just hold it above their heads.
And then
Yes,
then
that'll
they will
end
punch
well.
you in the nads.
Alright, so most of you are on this ship and Thamor's in jail.
No.
Oh, great. Now Spooky Rat's going to have to break Thamor out.
Oh gosh.
Right before Thamor starts making mini halberd shanks.
More like Bukurat becomes the god Thamor's chosen animal.
Yes.
So
No, he would choose a fish of some kind. This is Thamor we're talking about.
well, rats rats are an essential part of the seafaring ship's ecosystem.
But this is Thamor. He would use it as bait.
Exactly.
Could try to freak the fish out and make them leap onto his halberd.
Alright, then we need PETA involved because now there's animal cruelty to familiars, using your familiar as literal fishing bait.
I mean, we've also gotten baby elephant drunk, so I feel like we're kind of on the outs with PETA anyway.
That's true. You got him
Yeah,
drunk,
yeah,
you got
yeah.
him killed. Once.
I didn't get him killed. Well, I sent him down the hallway, so maybe by proxy I got him killed.
It was an accident.
Great, we'll remember this. Okay. So let's start off. Go. Okay. Did I? Right, I never went back to. Okay. Yeah, so Thamor, how much do you want to go back and do things? Do you want to do it kind of as an afterthought, or is there anything immediate before we kind of move on with stuff?
Only thing I really want to do is, again, get that axe identified, so I at least know what the fuck it is, or if it does anything special. And I guess get the Minotaur head taxidermied. You guys want a Minotaur head just rolling on the ship?
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what Thamor wants to do. He's gonna do that.
And that takes a week of your time.
The rest of the time, just fishing. Can I have 7 fishing rolls?
I do.
You don't want to do the duel.
You just save the town, like restore Reigning King, learned all this stuff about it, and Thamor's just going fishing.
I stole a weapon of the king and went fishing. Yep, sounds about right.
I feel like I need to like at some point go over how that in identifying the weapon's gonna go, because most of the dwarves are gonna recognize that. Especially any of them that could identify it.
I just saved the
Lord?
town. It's mine now.
Mort? Isn't he a purveyor of magical goods?
No,
Just saying.
Mort's a useless clod. He didn't sell us anything.
I was gonna say, if you mean purveyor, you mean person who can make things sound like they're magical items and sell it to you for whatever the fuck he thinks it does, then yes.
Yeah, no, Mort is nothing that can sell anything.
Shrek, I thought you were gonna say no, Mortza, and then like insert class here, and useless class. And I was like, oh, that's a wait a minute. Have to make that D&D class. Useless Claude.
Moore's been kind of bullied ever since I freaking introduced the poor character.
Yeah. He
To be
kinda
fair,
had-
you introduced him as the shadiest, all get out merchant who was accosted by goblins, and then
I'm
Oh,
not
I
saying
see.
it's a
I
bad
see. I
thing.
need to get
Like,
custom.
he was definitely built to be that way. It's just the fact that he's recurred to a point where you guys were like starting off and you met him, and he kind of got away with it. But now that you're higher level and gone through all this stuff, he's basically just been completely outpaced in terms of being able to do anything. He just kind of is along for the ride at this point, but he still thinks he's on the same page.
We poke
Yeah.
too many holes in the embryonic sac of BBEG growth process. He's
I mean, you have a lot of
part of
characters that are on that path right now. You've put Mort on this path. You've put Thunderhands on this path. You've
They're gonna
put
Oh
love
yeah,
that.
Feld.
Thunderhands. the
Tragic.
the Bambi of last session.
Reading the session notes and just seeing it titled Thunder Handling made me lose it.
I
He
thought
took out
somebody
my
would
woodshed
appreciate that
last
name.
session.
Yeah, when I was reading through it, I saw it was titled as Thunder Handling, and I just I loved it.
I didn't see that part.
Yep, that was my
See, the
section name
moment
for
where
it.
his soul actually leaves his body.
Well,
So we have a couple characters that are on path to becoming a PBG at this point.
We're lucky
don't
to
worry.
get
He's
each other
pursuing someone named Lily. That's all.
Mort is the one I'm not afraid of. Thunderhand, on the other hand,
Nice.
Yeah,
He's
Mort
fine.
just kind of backs up into a corner, and then if you get really close, he like pulls out a little shiv, and he's like, "Eh."
and how many times
Okay, calm down, buddy.
and how many times has it been like, we'll be partners? No, no, I don't think so.
He still thinks himself a partner, even if he doesn't verbally agree to it. He still thinks himself on the same page.
He's just an affiliate. He's not a partner yet.
He's not even playing the same game. He's not even a player in the game. Let's be honest. Call that one Avatar scene or whatever.
Mhm,
Beat me at my own game. Oh, to be fair, don't flatter yourself. You weren't even a player.
mhm.
Now I want to watch Avatar.
Yep, time to scrap everything. We'll have an Avatar-based campaign. No,
Yes, yes.
be fun, actually. But diverting from everything. So you guys, we went through kind of 2 sessions of a lot of RP. A lot of stuff happened with the reconstruction, the rebuilding, the resurfacing, I guess you could say, of Dunmoric. Through that time frame, we had a lot of conversations with both Grimlock and Olared. Actually, no one really talked to Olared directly, I guess, in that way, other than maybe Evian.
Yeah.
But some talks with Ellie and some of the other other townsfolk. Had a couple of revelations of some characters. We had some hearts. We had the reconstruction and kind of cleaning up and rebuilding of the Widow's Kiss, which I think you guys ended up deciding on keeping it that name.
I don't think we've changed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we thought it was.
Okay. Because that will be what's now, painted on her stern or on the hull as when you guys set off, as Karjak and his crew have been working to get it shipshape and ready to leave very eagerly, as this is something he's been waiting for very, very long time. And as you're leaving, you're setting up to leave Dunmoric. The tunnel's been reconnected. Grimlock is. You get kind of this sense that he seems to be leaning towards naming Merkram as the next king, or at least at the moment he doesn't seem to want to accept it. But right now they've kind of decided on keeping a council style leadership until a king of proper dwarven lineage can be decided. So
You notice Alton is suspiciously absent, and a new dwarf contender, enters the fray.
And Alton was never seen from again, and the new king reigned from the. Yeah,
Yep.
no,
Very
But,
strange when he died at the ripe age of 70.
and his successor looks exactly like it. But yeah. So you guys debark, finally leaving Dunmork behind, leaving that port you magically teleported to forever ago.
So
Lest that
where?
not be forgotten.
What is the fate of Pele? Is he still around?
So
We just kind of
Pele,
abandoned him.
so Pele actually got word out to Telmavir, and he actually left with the entourage that came from there. During that session where Andros was kind of messing, like helping out with the different entourages that were coming from the other kingdoms, because an entire mountain collapsing on perhaps one of the more secretive nations for the past century kind of got the attention of a lot of people. So like the White Order showed up, as Andros noticed, with his father at the helm of that. Telmavir showed up with an entourage at the behest of Pele, who worked with the barkeep that you guys met in the Rocket Inn, and he left with them.
Did Pele have the courtesy of leaving a note for us to apprise us, or did he just go off on?
I would say he wouldn't necessarily have left a note. He probably would have tried to find some of you. Especially, he would have tried to have found like Evian.
Or perhaps the paladin that saved his life.
Yeah, I was gonna say Evian, Zidane, and possibly even Morani, because she was there with Evian during that bit, I believe.
Mhm.
But just kind of expressing again the gratitude for giving him a second chance. And then if you were to ever visit, Telmavir, mention him or try to like bring him up, he's gonna try to restore some honor to the house that Arestamor had kind of besmirched with his actions. That's not what the house had ever really, or at least not what he believed the house was intended to do. So, but he would make it a point to try to find you to say goodbye and be thankful for the chance that was given to him for it. But he would leave with his host from Telmavir.
I mean, I guess if he was to go back to Telmavir, I would probably have Evian ask him to look into something if he goes there.
Mhm.
Oh, what was the name of it? Going back over my notes here. The House of Twin Stars, just to see if a woman named Shara is around, and that's probably their only request that she'll ask of him, is to look into that.
Okay. He'll make note of that and take a look into it to see. But any other last minute things for Dunmore before you guys set sail, as well as what's the destination for the ship as it turns northbound back to Galaran?
Okay, what
You
happened?
guys back?
That's what I did.
on
Okay.
Yoink.
So can I ask if Edbara has any sending stone pairs that we might keep in touch that way? Or is that something that I can just? Because I was thinking about we should probably keep touch with them, and I trust her the most. So. But I might be able to keep in touch just with the faceless network. So maybe I just say.
Yeah.
That helps.
I think I know. I had also.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry.
I would say that she would give you a sending stone, specifically to you, Alton.
Okay. Yay. I can't mark that down. Somebody mark that down for me in the spreadsheet.
She would give one to you, and I don't know if you want to call it irony or however you want to say it, but it's the marking on it is the symbol of Morden. It's a source of power.
Of course.
But yeah, she looks sad that you're leaving, but again, she is ecstatic for everything you've done. So you've definitely earned a very high point of praise for her.
Sweet.
Was there any chance that we could also have gotten a sending stone for Karjit, just so that when we are or aren't on the boat, we can get a hold of him? Or were those not like a readily available thing we could purchase or obtain? Because I'm expecting when we're potentially not on the boat, Karjit's going to be doing other stuff.
I'll say for the ease of just making it a little bit easier hand wave down the line, I will say he will give you you have a set of sending stones with Karjit that one of you can have.
Yeah, Andros
just
will
to make
hold on to it.
yeah, just to make life a little bit simpler in terms of not dragging a runner between the ship and you guys, or having them follow you, around the entire time so you can keep track of your crew. Just to kind of make things a little bit simple. So you have a sending stone that's linked to Edbara, and you have a sending stone that's linked to Karjit specifically.
Smart.
And
then we can ask him where our money is.
Sorry, just to make sure everything's working.
It's okay, I was doing that before.
I just imagine Thamor taking the stone and saying that to Karjit and using the sending charge.
Sending stabbed!
Oh, that didn't work properly.
So you can always do / talk to myself on, and then it won't show up, and it'll show up in chat for you, but it won't show up in the log.
Huh.
It's a nice thing to have for testing stuff.
Okay, so you guys have that. That's fine. Pele wandered off. Mort is joining you back on the ship.
Oh, he is.
He's coming with.
He's got nowhere else to go.
I figure it would be another one of those very weird conversations with Alton's. All right, you're coming. What? It's like I'm just assuming we know what it's best for him, and he resists the whole time, and we're like, nope, you're going this way.
He's like I said, he's. I mean, you definitely kind of you're seeing his character for honestly what it is that he's very boisterous, very confident. Like he kind of is cocksure of himself, but he doesn't really have a whole.
He wants to go back to Galaran, though, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I thought
he wants to go back to Galaran. He's got no way
So-
out of Dunmoric. All this stuff just happened, and he's got a long ass road up back.
Yeah.
So the fastest way to travel is going to be armed by a bunch of people that literally just defeated, the equivalent of a demigod to them. So
Yeah.
so he's gonna ride it out until profit turns him elsewhere, and he can make a better turn on it. So, and who knows? He still might think that he can perhaps turn this out as a partnership or him captaining or something. Gotta dream big, right?
What a dope. Okay.
I mean, it could be Mung Dirtyfinger.
If he has any aspirations of captaining my ship, he's gonna get tossed off.
Oh, he has them. He just won't vocally say them to you.
Oh, he's. I revel the moment that we're not on the ship and he tries to make that claim to Karjit. I hope we get that.
Oh, he
RP
wouldn't go to
moment.
Karjit. So, just out of pure flavor, he would definitely start he would broach it with Thamor. He would broach it with Alton. He would just, and it wouldn't be anything really thought out. It would just be more of you can tell he's attempting to be just kind of dumb about it.
Alton would lead him on 100%. we would roleplay that 100%.
Okay, we can play that a bit, but yeah, he would make sly little accusations of oh, I could totally be a better captain, or the ship's not going fast enough, or between you and me, we're members of this organization.
Mort, shut your mouth.
No.
Alton would be, shh, not so loud.
I just envision you setting him up, like thinking there's actually going to be
Yep.
a freaking like.
and by the end of the day, he's tied to the mast.
Yeah, he goes up and he finally like pulls out a dagger. Like you set him up for this
Yeah.
time where you have a bunch of followers, and he
Yeah.
just yells mutiny. It's just him standing there awkwardly, with his little
And
dagger.
everybody laughs, and then we pull his pants down and tie him to the mast.
All right, so more spends
down.
half the crew's tied to the mast apparently.
The first time it happens, Andros just casts suggestion and tells him to tie himself to the mast.
The first time.
First time.
He's a conscientious objector, so he's mutinying by tying himself to the mast.
Yeah, does anybody
Brilliant.
have memory wipe? Maybe we can make him forget he did it. Have him try it
No.
again.
You know, I would say the
Modify
first
memories
time
of
it
5th level
happens.
spell.
I
I would
mean,
say the
hit him
first time
hard
it
enough.
happens, you do that. The second time, like he tries to make an attempt at it, Karchit just grabs him by like the scruff of his neck and just dumps him in the water
I
before
love
fishing him
this.
back out.
I love this.
We
Mort's
just
gonna
put
hate this.
we just put him on the halberd of returning, and he is the thing that Thamor's using to try
As
and catch
bait.
bigger things.
That's bait.
Yeah, and then he comes back on the halberd of returning.
You know, you just hang him over the side of the ship, and he's just trying to fish big things. But yeah,
Yeah,
You are
exactly.
making him
oh gosh,
BBG.
poor Mort.
Oh,
Poor
by
Mort.
the way, did we ever was I ever able to get that ring decursed, or is it still stuck on my hand?
It's still cursed on your
Yeah.
finger.
Great. All right.
The
Because I'd want to put that on him.
yeah, unfortunately the
Oh, we could turn him into a dog.
So
Oh,
there,
no.
so none of like the
Jesus
none of the
Christ.
clerics of Moradin or
Forgot about
anything
the
would have been
dog
able
thing.
to decurse it.
there was only 3 clerics of Morden at the time, as well as some of them that were slowly coming out of their like petrification.
They need long rests to get rid of their level drain. Yeah.
More so, they also had a lot of other things to take care of in that time frame. So
No
For
one
now, I'm
here
gonna
had
say that
remove
just-
cursed.
Hmm?
Sorry, I was just thinking out loud. I was just wondering if anybody had remove curse in the party.
I
Nope.
don't think so.
Eh.
for the time
could
being, I'm
I
gonna
could
say that it
stretch
did
it.
not. There was no one that could lift its curse at the
I think
time.
that's a 5th level.
Third.
Oh, is it? Okay, never mind.
I thought remove was third.
Third. Warlocks can get it. So can
Yeah,
paladins.
but
They had like 12.
It's called stabbing. I mean,
It's no, I'm saying it's on the cleric, paladin, warlock, and wizard spell lists.
and technically, you know, Absent Thoughts can cast whatever spell he wants. It just hurts him.
yeah, you'll just remove curse and replace it with a different curse.
It probably would.
Eventually.
As long as it's a funnier curse, that's really all that matters.
But in any case, so Mort shenanigans aside throughout this trip, where are you guys bound? And what do we want to roleplay anything on the ship? I know Evian had some conversations she wanted to have with Arestamore potentially on the ship. I know there's some other conversations that were still not said from last time that wanted to be said on the ship. But what is the general heading? Are you guys planning to go straight to Galran? Did you guys want to debark? Like take a small dinghy out somewhere ashore and try to find some of these side quests before you head back. Some of these to see if they're even still active.
I know there was the one quest related to something attacking the trade routes.
Yes.
There was a
and
bandit.
Is Martha
Oh,
with us?
No.
Did we leave in
Didn't you
time
say
for
she
Martha
was
to
gonna
join
stick-
us?
I thought she was sticking around.
She was gonna join if you were heading back, and she could get off at Tilbrook.
Oh,
I'm sorry, not Tilbrook, Dewsbury.
oh.
Right.
But
I need to reread the freaking summary. Because I thought, okay, cool. If she's with us, then I'm definitely, gonna go with her.
she was, if I remember correctly, she was only gonna do that if you were leaving. Otherwise, she was gonna like head out on her own and immediately start heading for it, like
Oh, okay. So we
straight
kind of
going there. 'Cause
dallied
she wants to
there.
get back to Dewsbury ASAP.
Well, even so, like as soon as we kind of get there, parallel to there on the shore, I think Elton would kind of hop off and be like, "Hey, I'll meet you there," and he would want to go check in with them.
Okay,
See.
then yeah,
I
then more
was
than likely
her
she probably
daughter
set
and-
out on her own already because she probably left
Re-
the next day after being freed.
Okay, that sounds like a while from now, so don't worry about me.
So you may meet up with her depending on what you time kind of passing. So I will say she's not with you because she left. Like you solved everything. That whole thing went down, and she basically left the next day. Took the first caravan or whatever she could get horse out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say Andros's plan would be to have them basically take uh, the life raft, essentially take the boat, the smaller boat, and get off at
Dinghy.
Tilbrook. Yeah, dinghy, I guess you could call it. But get off at Tilbrook because there are some guild contracts we still had there.
Is that the
Was that
consensus for the group?
is that the
Yeah.
first stop along the way, heading back to Galaran, in terms of what contracts we have?
So there's one for the trade routes between Dunmoric and Galaran. There's one at Tilbrook, and then there's the one checking with Amelia Stonebird in Dewsbury, which probably has something to do with Martha, potentially. But we don't know yet.
I guess Tilbrook sounds good then.
Yeah, I'm okay with
Yeah.
that.
So we're basically
Okay.
going like
So a
that.
nice long journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably get off at Tilbrook and then leg it to Galaran from there, unless Karjit wants to stick around, depending on how long we stay in Tilbrook.
So
Okay.
did you pick up additional? What was his name?
Karjit?
Karchak.
Karjak. Did he pick up additional crew when we leave for the ship?
He had a total with him included was 9 crew members from his like entourage of dwarves that wanted to be at sea.
So they're
So
all
that's-
dwarvish.
They're all dwarvish. They're all kind of on that same. It's the same rabble that remember the fight in the bar that he instigated.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's his crew basically.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That's his like
I don't think I
like-minded
was
group
there,
of
but
dwarves.
yeah.
Yeah, you were not. Were you there?
I don't think. I think Alton and
You guys were in the temple. That's right.
Absentos,
You
yeah, we
were
were.
you were in the temple. Yeah, they started the
Mhm.
bar fight. Because him and his boys or whatnot that he called them, frequented there often. They were definitely more. They were kind of dwarves that seemed to be more like leaning towards seafaring and loving of the sea.
Okay.
Hailed Karchet is kind of a captain of sorts in that regard. But
What
yeah,
do
so
they
he
have
has
for stories of, do they? Because strike up a deal with them to kind of be the caretakers when we're not in using the ship or whatever. Do they have any quests pending? Do they have any? Oh, I'm glad you gave us this opportunity.
TBD, I think for them, for a lot of them, they've lived their entire. I mean, they've lived their entire lives in the shadow of Dunmoric, living in that port,
Yeah.
and really only their thirst for adventure, a thirst for the sea, really comes from Karchek, because the only dwarf in that group who actually was out at sea, who
Oh.
followed Andros's captain basically for a while and knew of him, and had that short excursion before being kind of trapped in Dunmoric as well. So that all their adventure really comes from the stories Karjak has told them and inspired in them.
So they're happy just to be at sea.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
They're
and
happy to be at sea to finally kind of like see this adventure, this world that Karjak was like promising to them.
Yeah, and we already worked out essentially the deal that they'll caretake the ship while Andros and the rest of us are out and about.
Yep. And you'll also have to find ways through being in the Adventurers Guild or other means to also start, make sure you keep an eye on ship repairs and maintenance, all that fun jazz. But we will figure that out as we go. But yeah, so they're happy. That's their kind of thing. They don't really necessarily have, because their quest, more or less, was to free them and take them with you. That was Karjak's request to Andros in the bar.
He honors that willingly, emphatically.
In fact, I prefer it. But is there any other conversations you want to have during this journey? I think if I remember correctly, when we were originally doing the trip destination, it was about a week's worth of sailing. Unfortunately, to get between those 2 points.
Zidane wanted to have a chat with Madeline, but that could have happened whenever.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I'm saying there's also the time now on the boat because kind of another. We can either just fly by it, hand wave it to an extent of what you guys will see, but there is a fairly decent cruise to be had, as well as some other things. But
Everybody is sailing proficient. Gets it. You.
Yeah,
Right?
what's that?
I said everybody gets sailing proficient from the nice long cruise.
I would say that Andros would be using his various magics to keep them on course. You know, if the waves are, if the weather is amicable, he'll be obviously using gust of wind to give them speed boosts. He's helping them along, so he's doing what he can to keep their journey going, and obviously a little bit of it is showboating to the dwarves.
Yeah, I mean, it is also very obvious at first. Like the going at first is actually kind of rough because the only ones with sailing experience are, I mean, those of you on board who've had that prior sailing experience, Karjik to an extent, but the dwarves he brought with him are only as knowledgeable as what Karjik has taught them. They haven't been able to go out and actually do any sailing, like true sailing. So there is a bit of a rough spot initially where there's a bit of confusion, a bit of learning to be had at the start.
Sure.
But nothing that can't be overcome with the fact that you have two competent sailors teaching eager dwarven ones what to do.
We have a full boat too. It's pretty.
Yeah.
We got over 15, I think.
Yeah.
Plus the sanctuary.
Are we gonna hot bunk or?
I mean, it's
No.
probably a fair.
I
I mean, it's a fairly
The bard
decent
says
sized
no.
My bed. My bed is my own.
And it's a fairly decent sized ship. I mean, I don't know what its standard crew size is. Salty, you can.
Yeah.
say
I mean, it's
that.
the same
Wait,
same
do
boat
we
as the
have a-
prior.
Boat map up right now? Oh wait.
I can bring it up. It's the same boat from, the encounter a while back.
That's still my bed right there. Yep.
So put together, no bodies and zombies and stuff around. But same
This is
ship design.
difficult on a phone. Damn it! I'm trying to place my token. It's like impossible.
Sorry. But are there any other conversations we want to have on the ship before we kind of push on? Because, like I said, there'll be a bit of downtime now before, inadvertently, as D&D is, want to have, things happen.
I just know that Evan wanted to talk to Restamore and have a conversation with her, the Dryad, that we have no name for besides Dryad.
I need to look up her name. I named her at one point, and she's in one of my notes. I don't think anyone ever asked for her name, so I need to find out where I put her
I
name.
think the reason why we have yet to ask her name is because, time permitted, she just said, "Here's your memories, and here's my arm. Now go."
Well, she did have like a bunch of stuff. I don't think it just never came up on the question to ask her name. She just kind of like consoled you and then showed you the memories, and you just kind of went with it. I
Yeah.
want to say I did name her. I just don't remember where I put her
I
name.
don't have it anywhere in the notes. I
Yeah.
know that.
Oh man, where did I put it?
Well, the next time you talk with her, you can just be courteous and be like, "Look, what's your name?"
Yeah.
What's your name?
What's your name?
Ah, I do have her name. I'm not
Aha!
actually kidding. It is back from the session I introduced her in. But I do have her
Well,
name.
that's a long time ago. So.
Yeah. I legit do have a name for her. So.
Is it Martha too?
They're all Martha. Everyone's Martha.
It's all Martha. It always has been.
It's all Martha, all the way down now.
It's Barca.
No.
Barca.
You want to try and commune with
Damage, right?
Arestamore and the Dryad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to RP it, or is that something you want to do in text later, or how do you want to do that? Either way works.
I figure that if I don't know if Raina still has that plan that she wanted to talk to Restamore. Well, I
I'd like
mean,
to have a conversation with the rest of more. Yes.
yeah. So
Okay. Sure. Okay, then we can have that. We can have that being a thing too. So I guess we can RP the three of us, or well, three of you guys. So during I guess a downtime in the bow when everyone's off doing their thing, or maybe at night, perhaps when things are winding down, everyone's kind of returning to their cots and all that. I mean, you try. I mean, I'm guessing you let Morani know that you have this, that you're doing this. You're trying to commune
Mhm.
with him, and as you kind of sit there trying to fumble about, trying to figure out exactly how to do that, the last known idea you have kind of comes to your mind as you bring out your bow
Mhm.
and kind of focus intently on it. And much like before, you feel that familiar warmth, but instead of seeing the blood red droplets forming, you see the slow kind of crawl that those void runes forming near the tips, the two ends of the bow.
Mhm.
With eyes closed, focusing, you kind of feel that slight rush of power, that slight tingling sensation from the bow before it vanishes and you open your eyes. And Arestimower is sitting directly across from you, cross-legged, arm kind of like slumped against his fist a bit, like pensive pose, slightly bored, looking directly at you. And Marani, you can actually see him as well.
So after concentrating, she kind of like gives him a nod at first, and she's like, "Have you been?" Awkwardly.
He you see, like, he's got his head resting on his fist, and he just closes his eyes slowly, lets out a long, drawn sigh, takes a deep breath. Trapped, it seems, in this state. Guess I have no room to complain, now do I?
I mean, you can complain. Uh, you have every right to. Though I found out something interesting when I talked with Grimlock a couple days ago. Apparently, he doesn't know what happened to Shara either. But hopefully, we can get some word that if she's around in the House of Twin Stars or in Tel Mir. I have someone looking into it.
He just kind of, again, closes his eyes a bit and rubs a bit of the bridge of his temple. Don't you think I already tried that? I
Well,
looked everywhere for her.
it doesn't hurt to, two heads looking in some one place, every other area. It never hurts to look. Um, but it was worth a shot. Though,
He...
uh, it does make me a little curious. I know you mentioned earlier that you all made wishes and yours was to protect Shara, but I I wasn't sure if you know, since you two were very close, if what her wish could possibly be.
He pulls his head up from that bored look, crosses his hands, or threads his hands into his lap, looking down. I don't. That's one thing I wish I had known.
Hmm.
In that state, I'm not sure what that Shara was thinking.
I really don't. I haven't really got much information on Shara besides what Grimlock told me and how she was, relentless and bold and very free spirited. But that's only one side of the story, and I was hoping to get your side of the story. So maybe if I hear a little bit more about her, I can probably find more clues on where she may be. Hopefully.
You see a sad smile, kind of, or smile, like a sad, like half smile, kind of play across his features. She was fierce, determined, a terrible cook.
Mm.
She was amazing. Everything I wasn't. I couldn't hold a candle to Eldwin's spells, Faye Lauren's knack and gifts. She didn't care. No foe was too great, no challenge too tough for her. Headlong she ran in.
Sounds like a good woman.
Yeah.
Well, besides the terrible cooking part, but no one's perfect.
He again just kind of gives that half grin. But sometimes it's those little imperfections that make them perfect. Still shows that she was still, I don't know, elf. Or I guess in your terms, still human.
Possibly. Well, and then well, obviously I don't, being, this is all new to both of us. I just wanted to make sure how you were doing because you did use a lot of your power to get us out of the dreams and everything and just checking in on you. And I'm sure she glances over to Marani. Some of our fellow compatriots, my comrades, have questions of their own or concerns.
He looks over to Morane, and again, with that kind of a bit of a sad look of guilt flashes across his face as he bows his head a bit. I am sorry for what I put you through. I don't for a minute regret what I have done to try to protect the one I love. But I am sorry that you had to be the victims of it.
Where are we, by the way? Out of character.
I would say you're in probably the lower levels of the ship, maybe in either the like mess hall after dark kind of deal where nobody is at the moment.
Okay, so I'll say that up to this point, like while Evian has been talking to him, Marani has just been kind of standing in the back of the room, like leaning up against a wall, just, arms crossed, just she hasn't taken her eyes off of Restamore this entire time, just looking at him completely stone faced, and then when he acknowledges her, she just takes a couple steps forward and stands in front of him. I think that there's something I need to ask you. I was recently made to see a scene from my past, a memory of my family being massacred. And for the first time, I was only a young child at the time, and I never remembered or saw the ones who were responsible. But this time, I was actually able to see the ones who wielded the spears, and they bore a very familiar mark, the crescent moon, identical to the one that you bore when we met.
His features fall into that bit of a down crest look. And he nods his head slowly.
Man.
It was not my expedition, if you would believe me.
Can I
I was
roll an
tasked
insight
with a
check on that?
Go for it.
Uh,
He seems honestly truthful about it.
okay.
It was not my expedition. I was tasked with a different area, a different group. And even then, I did not listen to their orders. They were merely a resource to get what I wanted.
Who were these people?
Call themselves a cult. Present Moon. They seek to bring about the end, break the world and rebuild it, as it were.
Like Madeline did?
Perhaps. Knowledge of the void. Powerful thing. Enough to draw some into believing it's some kind of religious devotion. But for me, they were the perfect targets. Perfect means to get my wish completed. I could care not for what they want. If it meant I could save Shara, I would have followed anyone.
The ones that I saw wore robes bearing the symbol of Palor. What does Palor have to do with all of this?
You see him cock an eyebrow. There's a saying, in the brightest sun hide the darkest shadows. A religious cult hiding behind a different religion. Seems awfully convenient, doesn't it?
What is it that they were trying to accomplish?
He kind of scratches. He scratches his head a bit. It varies. There is no direct, singular belief amongst the cult, other than bringing about the end and rebuilding. But the way to go about it is a bit of a different subject for each division, or sect, as you will. Some thought it could be brought about by mass chaos. Destroy enough things and you'll bring the world down with it. Others, like myself, again, using it for their resources. I knew more. I hunted for the heirs to the plains, bring about their collapse, to see if I couldn't bring her back. Just reach in far enough. But I was wrong. The ones that attacked your temple, can't say for sure. They bear the marks of Palor. Perhaps something in this dogma of sorts has a better answer.
Do you know who they were?
The cultists themselves, I couldn't say. Can't say I've ever met them.
Did you know
Yes,
anything about this expedition to my temple?
Not yours directly, no. Like I said, I kept to myself, I kept to my house. They were a means to an end for me. I cared not for what they did outside of what I needed to do.
Can you speculate even on why? Why us? What threat did we pose?
He ponders for a second. Well, perhaps they follow the belief that enough chaos would cause the tearing of the rifts. And you were just a target along the way. Or you say your tribe was in a temple. What temple, what god did you follow?
I I don't I don't know if I can really answer that. I I was so young.
Perhaps they thought to bring down the ire of the god. There are some that believe that they can draw the gods out of their pact of non-intervention. That would bring the end.
So what? You're suggesting that if they pissed enough gods off, they would just destroy the world themselves?
He shrugs. Perhaps. You might think me a madman, but this cult seems to be full of them.
And they're still active, this cult.
He nods slowly.
Do you know who leads them?
There is a couple of head members, to my recollection, though I can't say I've ever met them.
Do you know where they are?
Thinks for a minute. Not sure. I got my orders via parchment from them. Never met them directly. Though what you're saying for the sun to be true, perhaps based out of the White Order, perhaps nowhere at all. Maybe they operate out of somewhere else entirely. Sorry. Like I said, I was more focused on my own than the actual cares of that cult as a whole.
And yet you still used them.
Of course, they were easy to use. Easy to manipulate for the goal I had in mind.
And what did that entail? How many innocent families did you destroy in your quest for vengeance and knowledge?
His face just, you see this breaking of his kind of that firm face he had, and you just see some true guilt kind of show through. Hey,
Your non-answer is answer enough.
he looks up to you though with this kind of sad look. I would risk everything to bring her back. And when I learned the nature of this new world, that it was all a fake, a broken, pieced together farce of what the world was supposed to be, what happened to friends, happened to my love, what would you have me say? It was
What
like I
about
was living.
and what about what happened to my family? What happened to that little Kalashtar girl who didn't know anything about the world? Who saw her family die? What kind of chance do you think that she had in your little quest?
As cold-hearted as this will sound, little one, for that time I was, for the what clouded me, none of you were real.
How convenient for you.
You see again, he gets that kind of sad, defeated look. Yes. Convenience at the time is blinding.
And my family paid the price for that blindness. You may not have wielded the spears, but you're just as guilty as they are. You may not have had any hand in what happened to my family, but how many children did you orphan? I was extremely lucky to have ended up where I am. Not everyone else got that opportunity. And now I have an opportunity that not many people can say. I have an opportunity to fix this fucking mess, and I will gladly take it.
How many before you have thought the same thing? How many in the cult think that's the same answer they search for? How often did you hear that from Madeline, who thought she now had the chance to fix what was broken? It's not that different.
It's
Sorrow, vengeance. In the end, everyone's looking to fix the mistakes, fix the tragedies of their own story.
I'm not trying to fix my mistakes or my tragedies. That's not what this is about. All I want to fix, all I want is for nobody else to have to endure what I did. I may have been lucky to survive that raid on that temple, to have been found by my grandmother. But I weep for that girl and what she could have become. I may be standing in front of you right now, but that girl died that day.
So what if then someone did offer that to you? But the cost was for everyone else to suffer so that you could rebuild and no one would suffer again. What if
I
that was
was
the
offered
cost?
that. I was offered that. I turned it down because I knew it wasn't worth it.
Then aren't you just as guilty as anyone else?
Guilty. Did you really just say that word to me? I am trying to ensure that this world doesn't get destroyed. To have the whole world go down in flames just for some misconceived idea of vengeance. I've never had vengeance in my heart.
And yet you tell me that at the cost to fix, to achieve what you want, price is not less than perfect. You wouldn't take it. You would
If
let
it,
those suffer. You would let everything come to pass until a perfect deal came along.
I don't want any perfect deals. I don't live in some kind of illusion that there is some kind of perfect balance that can be struck where no one ever suffers. That's not the way that life works. Life sucks
Exactly.
sometimes. Life hurts. But that doesn't mean that it's not worth it. I have suffered in my life, but I have also
And are
found
you
things
saying
that
that
I
none
would
of these
never
other
want to
ones
lose.
haven't? Are you saying I haven't, little one? Are you saying my suffering is no less than yours? For what
We
I
all
lost, for the future I lost, for the world I lost.
have our own pain. We have all suffered.
And
To
I took the
undo,
actions I deemed as thought to fix it. Just because you don't agree with it doesn't make it any less than your own righteous crusade.
the only crusade that I am on is to make sure that everyone gets a chance, that we're not just all thrown out with the rest of what you deem to be the dirty laundry. My suffering has made me who I am, and I wouldn't give that up. But I was never really given a choice, was I? She at this point she just turns and walks away.
Resimer just looks down at the floor, looks up at you, Evian,
Mm-hmm.
just kind of quietly. I still don't regret my actions. Presented with the evidence I had, the beliefs I had, and watching a false world unfold before me. I don't ask for forgiveness. All I want is to move forward now. I've given up on my world coming back. So I will help you try to build yours. can't bring back the loss that others had. I can't
No.
pretend to atone for what others have done in the same name.
No, we can't change the past, and we can't bring those who have lost. But you're right. The only thing is just move forward, and vengeance is never the answer, as you well know. And I mean, yes, some of your actions are quite unforgivable, but lingering on them is not going to solve anything. And even though this world is false, and from what I have believed so far, I'm starting to think that Ivan and I don't even really exist, as you have claimed. I found out that from Grimlock that Lauren didn't have children before he was executed. So how does that make me the grandchild of Lauren?
He just kind of gives you a bit of a hard stare.
Either way, this world has been created by 4 separate wishes. And even if we were to find those wishes and those who have been responsible, and so far we have found a few and have vanquished one, but we can still rewrite it. It may not be quite as perfect and fixable as we may seem, but if we hope for a better future, it's possible. A reconnection with those that we have lost, and hopefully we have a happier reunion, and we will all heal, even if this world has been created.
He sighs before, again, kind of resuming that head resting upon his fist pose. Um, don't know what else to tell you, young one. My battle is over. I will say it again, I don't regret my choices. I don't ask for forgiveness. But at the very least, my path and my encounter with you has shown me that this world, though not the world I wished for, is here to stay. And all I want to do is see if this world still holds hope for me to see Shara again.
No matter what this world has brought, there is always hope. Always a glimmer. And as you can tell, some of us already have that hope, that strive for that hope. Your chapter may have ended, but not quite yet. I will find my way to get your reunion with Shara. I will do what I can. But for now, rest.
He nods slowly, then kind of his eyes dart back over to where Morani had walked off. He gives one last bit of a forced sigh. While I don't agree with her justifications, I offer this then. If you ever make it to Tales of Mir, or to the House of the Broken Mirror, and either present me or my name. Among my belongings somewhere there was correspondence, things I should have listened to from the cult. Perhaps somewhere in there is the info your friend will seek to find her. Gives kind of a very slightly sarcastic, kind of silly little not revenge. Don't know if it'll help her find solace, resolve, or maybe shed light on what she's really trying to achieve.
Probably justice, like I was partly searching for, but everyone has their own ways.
Justice is only just, and the one that wields the stronger sword.
By chance, you don't have anything in that Lord's house that we first encountered you in?
Meager belongings, perhaps, if that fat pig has not sold them all off already for his own gain.
Hmm. Very well. Well, even if we come to it, I'll try to find those particular parchments. And if there's anything else that comes to mind, let me know.
He nods before you see his form start kind of flickering and fading.
She basically watches him for a moment, and then until he disappears, she just leans back against the table with a very hard sigh and rubs her brow, and she's like, "Ah, I've gone way better." Oh, and then after a moment, she just like recalling what Marani has mentioned. It's her thoughts start to dot, and her eyes start to widen. It's like, wait, what? And he would slowly get up and see try to find where Marani went. Hopefully, if she went to wherever she went, find her before she sleeps.
Is it nighttime right now, or
Yes.
I'll say then that she's probably made her way back up top and is just kind of staring, like standing on the deck, just leaning up against a railing and just staring out at the open water.
Okay. Eventually, Evian will spot you and she'll go over next to you, having her arms on the side of the railing, looking out herself before looking towards you. How are you feeling?
Kind of a loaded question, isn't it?
That is a loaded question. She chuckles. But I didn't realize you went through that whole ordeal.
It's not exactly something that I've felt the desire to be forthcoming about.
Hmm.
But that was what
Here.
Madeline made me experience. Death of my family. I thought that when I saw the crescent moon, I thought I might finally be able to get some answers. Instead, I just have more questions.
Sometimes questions is what we need. I know how it is, I told you already that I've lost my family, but it's never easy. but in the end, you've grown. You've grown into a strong person. You've gained friends and even a lover. Well, I assume anyway, since you guys practically kissed in the courtyard the other day.
See a little bit of pink come to her cheeks. And kind of like a trace of a smile. And I don't regret where I've ended up. I don't. But still can't help but wonder what would have happened to that little girl if she had just been able to live her life.
You know, that little girl would probably be right where you are now.
Hmm. I have my doubts about that, but all I can do now is move forward.
True. That is true. And she looks out over the ocean for a moment. Restimore told me something before well, he, well, he vanished, ran off. He said he might have those parchments of those people who, attacked your temple, those cultists. It might be at the back at the Tales of Mir, the broken mirrors. I think that's what he said. It's kind of, well, my thoughts are draining even as we speak, but long day, long events. But the choice is yours if you want to seek out those parchments.
See her jaw kind of clench, her eyes kind of narrow, just, contemplating. Arestamore and Madeline both use the word vengeance. That's not what I'm after. Even justice for my family, even that's taking a back seat right now to everything that's going on. If I get justice for my family, that's great. But all I want is to make sure that no innocent child has to go through what I did again. If I can
Neither
have
do
a hand
I.
in preventing that from happening, then as fucked up as this world is, at least I'll know I've done the best I can to contribute something good. Something good has to come out of this entire mess.
And it has. Even if it went through so many hells and back and a lot of tribulations, there's some good out of it. And she turns over to you and gently pulls you in and gives you a hug. You have friends who can look close to you and help you. That's what's good out of it. You have people who care for you.
I think I'm finally starting to realize that now.
I'm glad. And then many, and if you do decide, I'll help you with any way you can.
I appreciate that, Evian. I do. I just need to think.
You and I both. And she gives you a comforting rub on the back before letting you go. Get some shut eye when you can.
She just nods. I will. I just want to look at the stars for a while.
He gives you a little soft smile before making her way down below.
She'll just stay on the deck of the ship for a few more minutes, just looking at the night sky, just contemplating and going over everything that she just heard. And after a while, she finally just goes down below deck and tucks in for the night.
Okay. Right. Interesting conversation indeed.
That's not how I thought that was going to go, honestly.
I didn't know what you were going to ask him, to be honest. So I was curious to see how it was going to play out. But he was telling the truth. He was not part of the raid on your temple.
That is honestly not what I was expecting at all.
Yep, he had his own intent for what he was going for, but he was there for that.
Yeah.
Also looking in the chat, it looks like Thamor and Andros have their
We're getting along. I promise.
For now.
yeah, I guess getting along in a sense, threatening to murder each other, and then suddenly teaching Thamor to do
I never
ship
threatened. He
navigation.
did.
Yeah, basically. Threatened.
Get out
I
of my
also like to
room.
imagine. Yeah. Marani heading down to bed, and you just hear more off in the distance. Mutiny! Oh, not again.
And then a splash.
Yeah, there's a loud splash. And you just hear this squeaky, wet footsteps of Mort trudging along, cursing as he goes below deck to sleep in like whatever pile they've set aside for him this time.
To the raucous jeers of the dwarves that
Yeah.
facilitated said throwing in.
They're practicing how to rescue someone from going overboard.
He's got a permanent rope tied around his ankles just so they can toss him over whenever they want.
Arch is just getting used to it at this point. Just kind of the daily, all right, time to dunk a Mort. Okay. Anything else for like Alton, Absinthoss, Andros? Like any of you guys want to have anything else? I know briefly was mentioned wanting to talk about what you're gonna do with Mother Dearest, but I don't know if that's gonna be happening on the ship or when you get back to Galaran, or if it's just kind of like kind of smooth, not smoothish sailing, but just standard interactions kind of thing.
I
Who
do
was
feel
that
like
comment about Mother Dearest to? Wait.
Absent thoughts.
Absinthoss, because I know Shred initially had mentioned wanting to like
Oh.
have a conversation with everyone about like what the plan was, I think, on the ship.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're not all
Yeah,
on the
if
same
we-
page about,
Also, imagine.
We probably aren't on the same page for.
okay, in
Yeah,
that case,
and,
I would
well,
imagine that that's
Zidane's gonna put
probably
up
a
the
conversation that needs to be
sanctuary
had
too,
before we get
right?
there.
Everyone's.
Okay, two people are talking.
Sorry.
Sorry, I was just saying that if we're not all on the same page about that, I feel like that's a conversation that needs to happen before we actually get there.
We've got
Not that
time,
it needs to happen now, but
No, but I just remember that Shred had brought up to me at one point saying that I think he said like something about like having that conversation on the ship or before we left Galaran. So I want to make sure if like that was going to be had before we jump into anything else. If that was a conversation you wanted to like instigate among the group, whether on the ship or in the sanctuary or whatnot.
because I think from a meta perspective, the only people who know that you want to have this conversation is Absinthoss and Evian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So-
and that's why I said if he wants to bring it up some point before we like have something else happen while there is the downtime on the ship kind of mentality, or if that's something he wants to wait until you're in Galaran to have.
Well, it's really irrelevant given what the topic's going to be, so might as well have it on the ship.
Might as
Have it on the
well.
ship.
Wake up, everybody.
Hey, everyone! It's 10 o'clock at night. It's perfect timing.
No, fuck off. Go away.
It's 10 past Mort screaming mutiny.
Mort is actually the one that's sent to everyone to wake them up.
It's
Actually,
Hashtag
doing
mutiny,
it
everybody.
actually
He
doing
doesn't-
it at midnight would be thematic and relevantly productive. I would do
The
this at
moon.
midnight.
Of course you would.
The light of the moon.
The
And
light of
Thamor
the
kills
moon.
you. No, I'm just-
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Don't tempt him.
Unfortunate, but inevitable.
I would say if you
of all the
actually
things that Thamor finally snaps and kills you over, it's not the void, it's not all the other things, not the, all the things that's happened so far, it's you will come up at midnight. But no,
Fair.
how would you broach it, I guess, or do you want to broach that now? Like I said, you don't have to, it's just, I wanted to ask before we push on and don't have
No,
to.
we should broach it now at midnight.
Uh.
I'm gonna wake everyone up, just politely, one by one, as they're going to bed. It's like, I will see you in 2 hours.
Jesus Christ, man.
That's not ominous.
Don't. Okay, well, let's see what happens.
Talk about Mother Dearest.
I just want to say that Marani is in no mood for this. Just putting that out there, but
Well, It wouldn't
she'll
necessarily be the same night as that. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
This would be a different night, I
I
imagine.
think
not the
it'd be-
same night.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
that's fine then. It would not be productive otherwise.
I imagine two pair characters wouldn't really show up at that point. No, I would say it's a different night. That
Then
That
two
would
characters would go overboard. I imagine that we're all just like on the deck, and he's just like, I imagine that you're wondering why I called you all here.
Bring all your tokens to where he is.
And the
Circle
starboard
him.
side. It's circle it so you can yeet him overboard.
Yeah, I imagine
Oh,
either
we're
takes you
moving
like above
tokens?
deck or
Great.
takes you again into that mess hall where you can kind of gather around somewhere in the ship where, like I said, there's only really a skeleton crew active right now as far as some of the dwarves maintaining the ship in shifts. But yeah, we'll say he woke everyone up. Whatever your suspicion on that is for your character. I mean, I'll leave that to you guys.
Midnight.
If everyone's actually joining, but I'll let you leave that there.
Move my token, please.
Well, we don't have access to your token, sir.
Salty
I'm
does.
asking Salty.
Oh, okay.
I'll just throw him overboard. Join Mort.
Okay. Swim faster, faster.
Need to make a token for Mort now that I think about it. On my to-do
Yeah.
list.
Andros, when this is all happening, Andros comes out and is glowering. He is not.
Oh, he's
at
coming
all
out?
pleased. I mean,
Har har.
that's
thought
old
so.
lore.
Sake. Jesus Christ, dude.
That's old lore.
What's old is new again.
It's on brand for tiefling, so.
Oh, good grief. Anything with a pulse.
But
Yeah,
Andros
he's not the
is-
bard.
he's
I
got
know.
his arms crossed.
Yet another example.
He is not pleased.
I'm sure all of you are very excited to have this talk at midnight.
Absinthos, I'm gonna give you a little bit of respect. Why the fuck are we doing it right now? We just had a hard day of sailing. The men have had to tie the rigging at least 4 different times and they're learning it. The waves were not cooperative. We've nearly got knocked off course 3 times. And you want to talk at midnight when we're all supposed to be resting so that we can have a better day of sailing tomorrow? What the fuck were you thinking?
This is respect, by the way.
Respect is me not throwing you off the ship with Mort. Why can't this happen in the morning?
Because my mother has been watching our every move. She is asleep now. She can't scry and see what we're discussing at this point.
Are you sure about that?
You're awake. Why wouldn't she
That-
be awake?
Because
Logic
she's a
finish.
noble.
She also cavorts with demons. Who knows if she even needs to sleep?
Or if she's even, well, mortal anymore.
Fucking
I
hell,
know
lad.
enough that she needs to sleep. And
Well, you
that's
have our attention, so go ahead.
while she does need justice demanded upon her, I think it'd be a poor idea to do it immediately. Not until we can fully take away the base of her support.
What are you suggesting?
For now, to act aloof on the knowledge from Madeline. Do not give her any idea, even presumption of thought, that we know what happened that fateful day. We need to do some research. Don't
Why?
want to... Well,
To learn what?
well, let's take a most simple plan, right? We kill Mother. Great. She's sent to the plane of fire. She consults with demons. Devils, rather, but she just comes right back.
What if we banished her to a different plane?
Zariel will find her. She'll find a way.
Our enemy is not really your mother.
Exactly.
Don't you talk with the Zerial? Wasn't that where that lady always comes from in the first place?
It does put me in a very awkward situation.
She'd be
Yes.
able to hear us right now, couldn't she? I'd imagine that Zariel doesn't sleep.
Well, at the moment, Zariel has very little concern for me,
Oh, well, how convenient.
isn't it? And I hope to keep it that way for the moment.
So we're hoping your mother's asleep. We're hoping Zariel isn't listening. We're hoping that your mother doesn't know already about Madeline. There's a lot of presumptions here. Absinthos.
And what would you suggest we do?
What we were always going to do. Walk up, drag her in front of the court, reveal her for what she is.
And with what evidence? They don't allow dreams as evidence in the court.
Oh, but possibly her son testifying against her, her daughter testifying against her. Does that not count?
Zidane's gonna reach out with his mind towards Madeline if he can.
And you just hear this sarcastic humming in your head.
If you have anything you'd like to contribute, I have no objections. Neither have I made any to your commentary.
She just giggles. Oh, no, 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 no. You said you'd show me how you were going to solve this. You know my answer. Ah.
There's no way any of this can possibly go wrong.
And this is just between him and her, just to be clear.
I know that was out of character.
That's what I'm asking the GM.
Yeah. No, it's between you and her.
And Duras, I assume you're familiar with the concept of slander. My word against hers, she's more established. Even if we did have Madeline spontaneously appear attesting to the death, there would not be sufficient evidence to convict, even in the court of public.
Don't you
Yes,
have
but what
other
if we write a
evidence?
really good song?
You all that, yes, but weren't you around her your entire life? Don't you have other evidence? Or she kept it from you too?
And more to the point, do you really think that she would be stupid enough to just keep evidence of her evil doings just around in order to implicate her? What evidence do you think there is?
I'm sure we could call your wonderful patron to the stand. I'm sure she could testify.
I don't think
Oh,
that would be a good idea, to be
Exactly.
honest.
Why would you even suggest that,
It's
Andros?
sarcasm. It's a fucking midnight and I'm pissed off.
All I'm asking is we let cooler heads prevail for now while we formulate a better strategy. That is it.
Well,
Well,
then
I don't think that any of us were suggesting that we just waltz into Galaran and stab her in the face.
I mean,
Well,
I'm okay with that, but
at least we're all on the same page.
I don't know that we are.
So, saying don't. That you woke us up at midnight to tell us not to attack her.
Not directly.
I mean, we're at least a week
So
off.
let me ask you a question. If she's scrying on your every move, why not try a little misdirection?
That I would need your help with. But that was something I was thinking of.
So, well, it's really, I think, more important to ask. She can't be scrying on you 100% of her waking hours. What other pots does she have on the fire that you know of?
There's a few elven houses in Tel Mir. Some cults that she supports.
So she's actively engaged in the day-to-day politicking, or help me understand what her power base comes from.
There are two power bases. There's the trade with Tel Mir and acting as the informal secret police of Galarian.
oh,
That cave we saw with the cursed dagger, probably a location where some poor dissident from Galaran was brought and sacrificed to Zerial.
So ultimately, she seeks more power for Zerial, and more power for herself comes with. But she does have alliances in the city, and supposedly they trust her.
Yeah, they're noble houses. They glue together. The king is just a figurehead at the end of the day. Get some anti-corruption going here. Make it all seem like he's powerful. But in the end, he's just another human or citizen in the pockets of the nobles.
Maybe it would be best to sow as much misdirection around her other pursuits and whip her up into a kind of frenzy looking for ways to, you know, accomplish her goals in those directions, and then our strike will be much more stealthy. You won't see it coming because you won't have any time to look at what you're doing.
Do love the idea.
Andros points at Alton and says, "See, rich people love when you break their shit."
Also, rich people love power.
Hmm.
I mean, who knows how deep their bond is between trust? I'm sure she has threats or blackmail over them. I'm sure if you tip the balance in one family over another, I'm sure something will go wrong. Or, in this case, have more blame on the one person that we're trying to target. Maybe.
Absintho's, what noble families oppose yours?
Add character, my Leopold. There we go. I was like, what's the name of that family? Well, House Leopold would be one of them.
Leopold, yep.
Oh, the one. arrest
New
Yeah,
him.
the
money.
shitty guy.
You also
Well.
have a noble amongst you, technically. 2 nobles now.
Hold on, there's a Dan. Who's the other noble?
You and
You?
Sedan.
Oh. I thought you meant like me, Zidane, and a third person. Anyways.
No, I meant like there's 2 total like technical nobles recognizing Galaran right now.
And Elton, you've got your whatever you've got. Your quest giver. I don't even. She can probably stir up trouble, right?
Wait, I heard like half of that. Why are you so sorry?
Was I really
You're
quiet?
Maybe it's just my
mysterious.
phone. Just say it again.
You've got your patron benefactor, the one who sent us on the quest for the crown. Can she sew up some problems?
Oh, for certain.
Protecting dissidents would probably be the best way of doing so. That would really
Yes.
drive my mother up the wall.
Well, what I was gonna say was I don't know that we can contribute much in the way of of visible noble work, but what I probably could help a great deal with is forged missives, forged rumors. I think that would be easy, trivial almost.
Plus, now with Zidane being recently ennobled, if I heard the news right.
I believe there's some sort of confirmation that has to happen, but yeah, technically,
Oh, I'm
yes.
sure you and Mother, unfortunately, are going to get very, very close.
Mm.
Uh, that would make things interesting.
Welcome
And
to a life of a noble.
he is just gingerly like pinching the chain or the strap of the medallion that your sister is currently inside of.
Yeah, perhaps you shouldn't bring that to your first meeting with her.
Unfortunately, I think that the terms of the pact is that your sister is wanting to watch my every move. Also, I think that I can't enter the sanctuary with her uh, container on me.
I
Something
can help
about
you with guiding
something
through it.
about dimensions and
I thought that meant you just couldn't bring her out.
You can
You can't.
bring her in there. You cannot step into her realm or bring her out. She can't physically manifest.
the dad will stand by his what he said because he doesn't understand arcane magic.
Okay, fair enough.
This one can help.
Exactly. That's a conversation for later. That's not how the magic works. That's not how any of this works.
Right. Well,
Yes.
well,
Ooh.
it sounds like Alton and Absinthos and Zidane, you guys have a lot to talk about. And I really need to go get some more shut-eye so I can make sure our dwarven friends don't crash our ship tomorrow. So good night.
Yeet.
Well, I think there's nothing further that we need to discuss anyways.
Andros just fucking yeets off into the distance.
I mean, wouldn't you be mad if you got woken up at midnight for this conversation from his perspective?
And to be fair, the door to his room is literally right here.
Yeah, Zidane's just sitting on the wait, that's a railing, so he's leaning over it.
Yeah, he basically just kind of pushes past Zidane and walks into the room.
Well, I will. You say she may not have evidence, but does have documentation that may be of interest if we can get her out of the house for a bit, looking over to Zidane.
Worst comes to worst. You know any devils that would want to screw over your mom?
Oh my God, no!
Whoa.
This
Oh
is the
God,
lawful good
no!
paladin, guys.
That
Bound to go
that
on.
was a joke. Why
Zedan,
is
we
everyone
real
looking at me like that?
Oh God.
Zedan, as he puts a hand over his shoulder.
Madeline is
really have to.
laughing hard in your ear right now.
Have those backup characters
That's just
ready.
a little joke.
Uh, uh,
I really have to teach you how to speak like a noble.
It's
A little bit different.
To be
Being
a
a clown.
noble, you've gotta talk double, crossing everyone. You've gotta act like you're a pompous brat.
What are you gonna do? I'm going to call the police.
I'm gonna call the police on the CIA, guys. It'll be fine.
People are trying to hurt me. What are you gonna do? I'm going to call
Well,
the
what
police.
about the rest of your family members? Would they be opposed in all of this?
My father, unfortunately, has been airheaded since his bonding. Don't know about grandfather. And I'm not even sure about grandmother, how she would ride on the back.
So probably best not to go to them first.
Grandmother might. Father, Andros will love him. He'll be no use one way.
Out of
No.
character, I
Well,
will make you useful.
oh, what?
I said, out of character, I will make him useful.
Oh boy.
I will break you.
Give me a challenge like that, why don't you?
But from the stories I've read, as insane as it sounds, perhaps Cyril is our best bet.
You do realize I was joking, right?
And what
I don't think you
possible?
were.
Azathoth just smiles.
I mean, if you want to roll insight to get.
No, he's not gonna roll insight. He's just gonna believe you were.
I don't think so.
I want to make a deception check. It's just a narrative flair. See how the dice roll.
Nah.
I am not
Oh.
guidancing this.
I think the thing around your neck makes me think you're turning to the dark side.
What possible way could Zariel do anything for us? she's a devil, isn't she? Devils don't make promising pacts.
Even devils want things.
And she wasn't always a devil, so they say.
We just need to hope that she wants something that isn't going to destroy too much.
Isn't she also the second most busiest devil in all of the Nine Hells?
Hmm.
I think she's the busiest.
Maybe she'd settle for someone lightening her load. Looks at the looks at the amulet.
Why? Oh, that.
Not that Madeline really favors being anything except completely destructive, but boy, it sure seems like she'd fit in down there.
Azathoth just looks at Alton, somewhat perplexed, thinking, seriously?
Yeah, it's a half-baked idea, but maybe there's something to it. I don't know.
There's a quick aside to. Actually, no, that's a conversation for later. I'm sorry. Carry on.
Well, it does give an idea, but perhaps our work is lightening her load, and will carry some favor. But a little bit more research, and it's in the library in the main house. So Dan, you're really gonna love talking with my mom.
Oh, she's a chipper one, that's for sure.
Is there? Am I going to have to talk with her?
Oh, you'll
Is
be
she going
doing
to be
lots of talking as a noble.
a sponsor, or is it just because I have duties now that I would have to be?
Galran's
on?
ran by nobles.
Oh, you'll
So-
make a duty.
Haha.
Wah wah.
Oh, for God's sake.
Oh, you thought being a noble was all fun and games. There's
No.
some bullshit that goes with it.
I never.
Looking at you? No, we never thought that.
Considering that I usually stole from them at a different part of my life and spent time observing them, no, I didn't.
Oh, it's like education never ends at the nobles' court. Just be as shrewd as a viper.
He squints a little bit at Absinthoth.
That was
Phrasing?
Sorry, typical Galarian phrase.
There is just a slight smirk. I'm just.
Oh,
It's. I suppose the resting, ruthless face comes naturally for me, all things considered.
Oh, you already have an advantage. They can't even read what your face says. That'll be very helpful.
Is Alton near a gunnel?
what?
A what?
Edge of the ship.
I can't see if he's near the edge of the ship or.
No,
He's
you're-
in the middle,
yeah,
like,
you're standing
almost
over
next
the-
to the
Can you
map.
can you move him to where on the edge where it looks like there might be a rope and have him start pulling? He's like pulling up a rope. You guys see him walk over, start pulling a rope.
Mhm.
Funny just backs up.
Carry on.
Alton, but is there something wrong with that rope?
Just getting the old Mort back in. he's kind of grunting because the Mort's kind of heavy.
What?
He's just been trailing behind.
Yeah,
Oh my
we
God.
threw him out before. I think everybody went to bed.
Keel
You're
hauling the poor
sputtering
guy.
as Alton's pulling up Mort. Loud
That's
cursing
gonna help.
ensues.
How long has
All
the
right.
man been keel hauled? Goodness sake.
You're all right, mate. You're all right. All right, shake it off. There you go.
He's
You're
sputtering
you're
between
okay.
sputters and curses. He just looks like wildly at you and stares hard at you, Alton.
I think somebody forgot you were over there, mate. I'm sorry.
Oh no.
So horrible. I love it.
Fetch some blankets.
Anyway, this is a private meeting. You have to leave now.
You could have just left him down there.
He's gonna put him overboard again.
No, it's not that girl.
He looks to make a remark to you, like about to just kind of lay into you, but with all the stuff that's just been happening, he just raises a finger.
You're doing a great job here on the boat, mate. By the way, you're doing a good job.
Come on, we can get you some blankets. Just follow me.
Wasn't part of it.
I'm gonna tell Shinari to encourage Mort to follow Evian.
He does so, but more so just kind of out of
Because he wanted to.
he's being provoked along, but the entire time he's just glaring at you, Alton, just glaring daggers at you, because he basically sees this as not the first time you've now betrayed him on this
Mate,
trip.
I'm not
to,
the one that put you over this time. I was the one that remembered to pull you back up.
More so, the couple times now he's shouted mutiny and nobody stood up with him.
That's on you, mate. That's on you.
I like that Alton's developing what? An Australian accent?
Only with Mort. Only with Mort.
Oh,
When you're on the boat, come on. Johnny's got to be the model. for your voice. Anyway, proceed.
Right, well, there's no time like the present, perhaps absent thoughts, to start going over what court manners, and I'm up already.
Oh yes. Would you believe at a dinner table there are actually
I'm
5
going to
different
stop
kinds?
you right there. We can. Is everyone else already? Are you done addressing everyone else?
Oh yes, you should all. We should all go to. We could talk about the finer details of cutlery another day.
Oh no, that I meant. I'm just making sure everyone else can go to sleep.
Yes, that's exactly what I said. As he was speaking over to everyone, half of them have already gone to sleep.
Oh, that's right. Alton can't move. I'm sorry.
No, I'm still sitting there, kind of staring. I'm a little awake right now. I don't know why. Alton seems awake, and he's just kind of staring at the two of you, like, okay, let's see what's going on.
So on the little walk over towards where Absinthoth is, Zidane's going to take his time,
Mm-hmm.
and he's going to try and converse with Madeline again, or at least poke her mentally.
Yes, dear.
I'm gonna
How can
give
I
you
help?
bardic inspiration
Okay, yeah, that's
because I think you
preemptive.
need it. I think you need it.
Either to resist psychic damage from Absinthoth, or
Yeah.
yeah.
So Alton just begins strumming a
Oh.
little tune, and you feel inspired.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So as he's slowly making his way, trying to make the conversation a bit
Taking his
quick.
way.
Right. Well, first off, do you have any desire to try and talk with anyone else, or especially your brother, while you're with me?
My
Hmm.
brother?
I'm talking to Madeline in my head.
Oh,
You don't hear this.
gotcha.
The one time your
Hmm.
telepathy does not serve you.
No, it's fine. For some reason, I thought you were
Perhaps.
speaking to me. Continue.
If the situation allows, I might. But for now, I'm curious to see how his plan works out.
Well, all you need is but ask, and
And
we
you'll
can
kill
arrange
Mother
that.
Dearest for me?
That comes with the second part. As you no doubt heard, one of the avenues available to us is maybe going around her back. What if a plan arises?
Oh, yes, yes, defaming and all that. You haven't been a noble very long, have you, Zidane?
Finish. What if, in some strange alternate reality, we cut her out of the picture and there's now a vacancy, and who can represent that plane? When, what if there is a way for you to perhaps remake the station in your image?
Knock knock, Zidane. That's what I was trying to do. And none of you wanted to join me on that. Remember?
You wanted the quick way.
You underestimate my mother, Zidane. You and your friends know nothing. That's why I'm here to watch. It's gonna be fun. Watch your plans fall so falling apart. And I will be there, once again, break it further, and then put the pieces back together. Zidane, my mother is one who consults with an archdemon. a near literal goddess and has survived how long? With the approval of a king, no doubt. And your plan is to make her feel bad. Is that what I'm getting out of this, Sedan?
That's about as much as I gathered from the discussion.
Well, good luck with that. She hasn't operated this long just by pure coincidence. She's had plenty of rivals. Plenty of people who thought that they could bring her down by exposing the truth and revealing her for the cruel, sadistic bitch she is. Do you know where those people are now, Sedan?
No doubt part of her new power base.
Oh,
Yours?
no. No.
I mean, sacrificed.
Oh,
The
well, then
term.
yes. Yes.
You see, this is why a little bit of a helpful voice in my head might be nice, other than your brother's. It seemed that most of the intellect went down one family tree line.
Hmm. Perhaps. I don't necessarily consider myself brilliant or a genius by any means, Sedan. I'm not that vain. I just know what I want to do is right. Fix the injustices done to myself and what she plans to wreak upon the world in her constant state. But if you want to make her feel bad, yeah, maybe that'll work. I mean, she offers mortals to a devil. I'm
I
sure
get
that'll work
it.
out.
I understand. Still, even if it is just laughing at our misery or fumbling around in the dark, I will just say I do not mind a little laugh here and there. At least it proves either something is going right or horribly, horribly wrong. And it's been well enough long time for Zidane to just be like making all the facial expressions of speaking in front of Absinthoss this entire time. But still talking with Madeline. Dude, this is taking longer than I thought it would.
Okay, brooding can last forever. There's no rush.
Absinthe is actually just making the same faces because he's just having his own inner monologue.
The mind is an
pretending-
enigma.
You know, actually, that's
He's just like
his
seeing the
actor.
conversation with his mother happen. So they're just both like having these mental conversations and visualizing it. And
Or better yet, Absinthoss is using actor to study how Zidane is, just in case he has to be the body double. I don't know.
That's actually useful. Let me write that down.
Oh no.
There's now two Zidanes.
I mean, Mask of Many Faces, actor. It's the perfect cover.
Anyways, so yeah, Zidane said even if it's just a laugh. I don't want to limit your agency.
oh, you aren't. Like I said, Zidane, we have a pact, and I'll honor it. But when it fails, when you fail, I will have my vengeance. It's the only way that's gonna stop her. She's powerful, Zidane. A true fanatic of a devil, and yet still has her sanity. That's a dangerous combination. I gave mine or most of mine, for absinthe. And you see how he wastes it. Can't blame him, though. Maybe he'll come around. When you see the rest of my family and what she's done to them, you're what they would call a good man, right, Zidane? Holy follower of the light, warden or something, you said?
Light, more like life in its entirety.
Semantics, you'll get used to it as a noble. Whatever. What do you do when the person that you're now trying to save has nothing worth saving? Is an opponent to everything you hold dear? That's why I agreed. I want to see you prove me wrong. But honestly, Zidane, I'm still banking on the fact you're not. And she'll bring me right to her. So either way, I win. But
Well,
yes,
the nice thing about the cycles of life are that when things need to die, they give rise to other things.
That's what I was trying to tell you all before.
And like I told you before, you wanted the quick way out. I'm at least trying to find something that doesn't burn down the rest of the forest if I have to use flowery language like your brother.
TikTok, then Zidane, if you're not going to use the quick way, how many more will she sacrifice? How much more will her power grow? TikTok, TikTok, Zidane. My fast way could have prevented more from dying. Well, maybe more than necessary, that is.
Well, one last question before I leave you to your hilarious backseat view of the world. If she were to die, naturally she'd probably end up before the seat of her patron. Do you think that she would come right back?
Probably. Zariel's cruel and funny like that, especially to a devotee like her. But see, that's where my power and plan differ. I wouldn't just kill her. I would let her suffer a little bit, maybe. That's the personal side of me, but
You just reminded
I
me
would
of something.
erase her very existence.
Well, one way to erase someone's existence is to them out of it. You just gave me an idea. Well, oh, also, thank you for not chiming in when I was talking with well, good night, Madeline. And again, if you would like to chat with your brother, just ring.
Oh, I'll find a way to mess with him. I have no hard feeling against him, you see, Zidane. Nor any of you, really. It's not you I'm concerned about.
Good night, Madeline.
Good night, Zidane. And, good luck. 'Cause that's the path you plan to follow. You're gonna need it.
On that, we agree. And he's gonna do his best to cut off that mental connection, however the hell it works. And the years have not been kind to your sister, Absinthoss.
Hmm?
I imagine that as Zidane's making a face, Absinthoss is making the same face with him. Because he just doesn't realize they haven't disconnected yet. Are you all right? I think I've been standing here for a couple minutes.
Yes,
Making
yes, you have.
strange
And I've been watching the both of you. Not creepy at all.
I don't know what's creepier at this point.
Oh no.
Yeah, I've felt your presence over here. I was just lost in thought. At least some peace and quiet up here normally. After all, it's just me and I don't know who's the dwarf that's back there at midnight, but whoever's driving the boat, he'd have dwarf name.
I don't. I need to get names for them.
It could
Sleepy.
be Stevie Wonder at this point. Or Sleepy. Or Sleepy.
Dopey.
Sleepy.
Dopey.
Dopey's in charge of driving the boat at night. That's brilliant. Wonderful
Uh-huh.
idea.
Dopey is his nickname. We can try his real name later. It's just me and Dopey usually here this late at night.
Oh my god, it's canonically Dopey. What is happening?
I didn't mean it.
Mm.
Oh God, his
Look at
name's
me,
Dopey
Salty.
now.
I am the DM now.
No, no.
Oh no.
All
And
right.
oh no.
Note for next session: kill Absinthoss.
What the fuck?
Oh no, my halberd has suddenly jumped out and knocked Absinthoss. Wait, he can cast fly. Never mind.
You know, all those things you thought Mother was listening to you. Oh, she's listening to you now. Oh, she
Thunderbolt.
knows. You dare go against the greater powers, Absinthoss. Didn't I teach you better?
A dimensional rift opens up right next to Absinthoss and then pulls him into the Nine Hells. There we go.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
A portal opens and a strange-looking young bald child walks out.
Oh no!
That looks
Wait
Canadian.
a second. I was just next to a giant bomb covered in gray goo. Where the fuck am I now?
Says you rang.
Anyways, I'm
Whatever
sorry.
his name is, I'm basically
Absinthoss.
saying just me.
No, it's Dopey now.
It's Dopey.
God damn it. All right. Well,
Just trying to
You?
remember where.
do you remember how the crowns were able to seal a person in them and it broke apart their power? Well, I guess like Grimlock's
Mm-hmm.
crown. What if we found another or made one and stuck your mother in one of them?
I mean, these things don't just pop out of the earth.
No, but we are on first name basis with the person that created one. It only takes a message or writer in this web of misdirection that Alton and you might possibly make.
Hmm. And this plan seems a little more interesting. Of course, then, assuming she gets stuck in this crown, we have to keep it out of the rest of the cultists. That'll be fun.
Right.
Besides, even if the crown's split, there's no guarantee that she'll stay in the crown. You know, it's like if a prison had his wall broken. There's an opportunity for a jailbreak.
Don't poke holes in my brilliant plan just yet, if I could still sleep on it. Anyways, what what is so important about cutlery at a meal?
Let's just go to bed, Zidane. There's
Oh no. If I don't make you suffer for tonight somehow, the rest of them are going to find a way to get you.
Oh, no, no, no. I'm not the one who's gonna be suffering about why there's 5 different forks in a dinner table.
What?
Oh, and 7 different types of knives. And you wouldn't believe the number of plates per guest. And they all have different functions. And if you give the wrong plate the wrong time, oh, they'll be quite offended.
But you only ever get one napkin.
That you can never use.
And it's fucking tiny.
The
Yes,
Dan's eyes are wavering between glazing over and also trying to maintain a determined
oh, this is very,
face.
very important, Zidane. Because the first thing any noble wants to do is have dinner with them and see how they host dinner. You can learn a lot by someone seeing how they host, whether they're a good host or a bad one, whether they care about all the fine, small details, or if certain things just aren't important, or if guests aren't important.
Well, I suppose I should check the old man's study to see if he left any basic instructions before he left this earth.
He'll probably
Maybe he has a journal that would help explain things. Who knows?
I hope
Elton
you'll.
looks at Absinthoth and says he'll probably also need instruction in how to treat wait staff and other entertainment. He seems a bit too
Casual?
nice. Yes.
Nice is not the
You
right
must,
word.
you must learn the proper disdain for people of my type.
Oh, it's not disdain. There is just a certain expectation of order. For the
Oh,
right
that's
type.
right. You've never been on the side of that interaction, have you?
I think a special disposition for order is just a longer way of saying disdain.
True.
Am I picking up on it yet?
A bit.
You're getting there.
Oh. Lord help me, I hope none of these are going to have to rely heavily on int checks because I have a +0 mod. Woohoo!
All be on the quiz. Don't worry.
I mean, I have a +0 in it, and I think I'm fine. So you just need charisma. You got plenty of that.
I got
A +0 int, and the DM laughs.
um
One
well,
more thing, as he looks over to your clothing, he tries to fix it up a little. Make sure you button that lapel next time.
he looks down, looks over at Absinthoth and tries to compare. Oh, I've never had a fashion sense before, but if I have to look like you all the time, I don't think I'll ever recover.
We might go
Wow.
for a different
Ooh.
style.
Damn.
I'm
I hope
sorry.
you never repeat that to a guest of yours.
I'm sorry. Was that the wrong intensity of a supposed insult?
Your insults, like your weapons. You
They
apparently
have
have
a
a very.
resting bitch face.
Yours, unfortunately, right now are quite blunt.
He has a halberd. What are you talking about?
I'm insulting his halberd.
Oh.
You
Somewhere
need to
Thamor
refine it.
hears.
So instead of using the pommel, I have to relearn how to use the sharp end for poking things.
Yes. Although I will
He's got a
say the
good
joke was pretty funny.
he's got a good start on aloofness. I like that part.
Yeah. It's certainly a style. A new style, definitely.
Well, if anything, maybe if I don't know how any of this works, perhaps an inn to get close to your mother, but also play the fool a little bit. Maybe
Oh,
you
I'm
could
hoping.
sponsor me, if that's a thing.
I think that is entirely
A
possible.
fledgling noble being influenced by a larger house. Well,
You could draw it out. Oh, that'll be excellent for this plan.
and if I had individuals of some great skill on retainer, looks over at Alton.
Hmm.
Why not?
Well, it wouldn't look like me, but sure.
Ah, just change his shirt, change his pants. Maybe
I,
shave a
I,
little on the face.
I, my friend, actually do have a bit of sense of style. Thank you.
Well, as long as it's at least somewhat presentable and Zidane likes it, that's really the important part.
Hmm.
The nobles do love their music, after all.
It's true. I've seen and been instructed in a great number of intriguing styles for subterfuge and eavesdropping and what have you. And I can definitely help you gather the air of disdain, as I described earlier, for other persons not nobles as you.
Oh, and this would be the perfect environment to try and tell people of the ballad of the widow's kiss, the little song that you have been composing. I think you performed it once.
I think that's for us. Some songs are meant to be shared among friends.
You do bring up a good point, Alton. The servants do know a lot more than let on, and their lips
Hmm.
are looser than one might expect.
Yes, I I don't have any contacts, unfortunately, in the houses in Galerin, but
Was
I
Zidane's
think
support?
I think we might soon make some. I don't know that this is all necessarily coming together as a plan, but boy, it sure sounds like we have some tools at our disposal.
Quite a few avenues to pursue. Disrupting some of the elven assets, chasing some cults.
Speaking of avenues, your sister has a great deal in confidence that even if your mother is killed, she has curried enough favor with Zariel that she would just probably come right back. Oh, and your sister still wants to kill your mother at the end of the day. That's another thing.
I will put these both under the no shit category. Any other insights of note from my sister?
She might steal a sock every so often from your traveling gear. Just the ones and make sure that they're mismatched.
Well, here's the big follow up question. Will it always be the left sock?
Do I need to roll deception to say yes?
Not really. It sounds like this is more of a just kind of joking around amongst people, unless you're actively trying to convince them that yes, indeed, you're trying to be serious about.
I want to so yes, it's for the shits and giggles, but also I want to see if this is practicing the lying as well, white lies. See if Absinthoss is able to pick up on it. Just like for like an RP purpose.
You guys should take the
Go
minus
for
1
it.
strength.
Yeah, I'll roll insight against you too.
Just
You
to
do.
see.
You do still have bardic inspirations, man.
I do. I have it for the next 1 minute or something.
I think it lasts 10 minutes.
Oh god,
actually.
where's my deception? Oh, there it is. Ah. Oh no.
Oh.
So I'd like to use that bardic inspiration.
Yeah, go ahead. D8.
Oh no.
Womp,
You barely
Yeah, you beat
did
him.
it.
What's Alton's? You have to roll Alton's insight. I think.
Yeah.
Wait, what I roll? I can't see.
12.
12.
Oh,
No.
okay.
With the
This is
bardic
a-
inspiration, I got
Not bad. Not
14.
bad.
So, yes. The facade almost breaks, but I'm not sure how exactly Alton's music would express itself as an inspiration,
It's
actually.
distracting me.
Well, it's just that you feel
Yeah.
more so like you kind of start the lie and you realize that it kind of sounds false, like, and you just kind of thinking back on like you're just feeling good about it, and you kind of just pick yourself up and like kind of commit to it. And they're not really expecting you to lie either, so I guess that kind of also helps. You're not exactly known
Yeah.
for lying to them.
It's a start.
I'll need to make sure I wear some extra left socks next time. Well, regardless, I doubt she's actually going to steal the socks. But the most important part of lying is committing to it. Except when it doesn't work. That you don't commit to it. Trust me, I'm a professional liar. I have to.
Zidane is going to think aloud, like enough for Madeline to hear, but also mainly to himself. I wonder if I can put Andros up to this.
Oh no.
So
Any-
what are you proposing to her?
So he's saying aloud, but like so that Madeline is able to hear him, or he's not hiding the thought from Madeline. It's like, I wonder if I can put Andros up to this regarding the little white lie about socks disappearing.
I'm not sneaky.
She's silent in all this like conversation at this point.
Okay.
'Cause she doesn't really care,
She has one thing on her mind. Got it.
basically.
Murder.
Most foul.
Andros drops a watermelon in his sleep.
What?
Wait,
What?
oh my god, I'm sorry. That is a Indonesian superstition where if you drop a watermelon, someone is talking shit about you. I just realized that not many people would know that.
That's a unique one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that meant something a little different.
No. Anyways. All right. Yes, left socks. Sleep does sound good, but this is something I have to look forward to in the coming days, weeks.
Yes, it is very exciting. It's made me the person who I am today. Someone who everyone loves to talk to.
Try not to think about it that way.
That's a ringing endorsement if I've ever heard one.
Try to think about it like training, right?
Although, like, as Absinthe says, you're like trying to. I don't know if you're storming or just like
But I'm just walking to bed. I'm done
walking
being
to.
moody.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's Zidane's gonna reach out at some point and just like put his hand on your shoulder
Hmm.
and then say, "At the end of the day, I imagine everyone is thankful for you being with us, Absinthe, even if some are a bit more vocal in their criticisms."
Truth be told, feels like half the crew cares and half the crew wish I never joined.
Elton walks by and says, "Well, to be fair, your mom is basically a devil. So, I'll see you guys later. Good night."
Vocal. But you do have a strong, independent archer with a terrifying accuracy who is in your corner, so humans say.
Well, maybe she can help me sneak into the mansion at some point. That'll be fun. Maybe she'll see that one room she almost went into.
Why would you need to sneak into your family home?
It's nobility. We all have our mostly petty reasons for things.
Is there a chandelier, perhaps, in your family home?
No, just a contingency plan in case the absolute worst happens.
Right.
Well, since I doubt you really want to talk about cutlery for the next 4 hours, then do a long day of work. We could
I
talk about another
was
day.
serious, though, if you actually want to go to sleep after rousing everyone for a midnight meeting, then don't let me stop you.
Well, it's been a long day on the ship. I don't think it's fair that we do take the necessary rest. If you still want to stay up, as he points up to the sky, here's a beautiful full moon. I always wondered about how those craters came to be. And if there's anyone ever up there.
Hmm. Good night, Absinthe. Zidane's gonna stick up and watch the waves, look up at the stars and moon. And he's going to try racking his brain for a way to maybe contact Riel. He's thinking very hard about maybe if I just go into the sanctuary on the porch and start yelling, maybe he'll come back again. There's a room in the sanctuary that used to be Riel's, right? Or is that like Zidane's room?
It's now your room in a sense, so
I've
I mean,
never explicitly looked in like a desk or a bureau.
You find a left sock.
All of them.
you find your left sock.
Uh,
I mean,
yeah,
are you
actually, I would want to put up the sanctuary to try and like go through top to bottom, looking for, yeah, looking for any hints or clues that Riel might have left behind that Zidane hasn't really been thinking about. Because nobility, what's that? I want to go around an adventure. Wait, I have responsibilities? Well, fuck.
I too crave violence. I've been craving violence for the past several sessions.
Sorry, it's
No, it's okay.
been kind of a big transitionary session, and we ended the big boss fight of sorts with more RP, so unfortunately that panned
I'm
out
pretty
like
sure.
that.
It's
I'm pretty
biting
sure
me in the
Thamor
ass.
stands at the ready if you want to fight. Just a question away.
Anyways, yeah, that's me.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll kind of go over, I guess, what you find in there later. Won't be much,
Yep.
unfortunately, but
Oh no.
so you didn't take a whole lot in there. But kind of go ahead and end this on a bit of a cliffhanger because as this week is going, as you guys are sailing towards Tilburg, as you're getting closer and closer to where you remember on the map that city to be, the air around you gets colder and colder as you get closer to closer to Tilburg, closer to Galran,
Oh, good.
and that cloud that you remember from a while ago is growing thicker and thicker as you grow closer.
Ah, hell.
Great.
Literally.
As well as something else you notice as you pass by. Something of note, though it seems to not be something you guys gotta circumvent, I guess, as you sail on. At a point, very reminiscent of where someone cast a certain void spell, there is now a gigantic hole in the middle in the ocean
Oh,
where
Great.
water is pouring kind of ceaselessly into.
Oh, Maelstrom. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
let's go
Wait.
fishing.
But
Wait, water's
It's-
pouring in there constantly.
Maelstrom,
It-
like it's
It's spinning, yeah.
yeah, spinning. Sorry, I probably described it better.
Oh, okay.
My thought of describing it sounded better in my head than when I actually said it. But yes, more like a maelstrom, like a spinning cycle of water. Like water is constantly flooding down and being recycled elsewhere. But it's just
I was
this
gonna
giant.
say we're gonna run out of water.
Fuck.
It's
I
an
don't think the
environmental
ocean's gonna
hazard.
run out of water.
No, but there's just. I mean, it's far enough out that with the aid of your crew and everything, you're able to circumvent it. But just as that familiar note, at least to those navigating, it's suspiciously in a very similar spot to where you winked away using void magics.
Andros very quickly and dutifully updates his maps and charts before, after of course taking the helm and right, you scurvy lads, all hands on deck. We gotta avoid the hole.
You sailors love going to different holes.
Now's not the time for
Yeah,
euphemisms, applesauce.
Absent now's not the time.
Pull on that rope, goddammit.
Get on the riggings, or you're gonna join Mort in the sea.
Oh shit, somebody pull Mort out.
That man's
That's my favorite thing to happen.
That man's gonna be part fish by the time we get.
Oh no, keep them in.
It's
We
turning
can use them to see where the currents are.
It's just turning into waterboarding, Mort. I'm sorry. Fuck. I'm sorry, Mort.
No one's sorry.
I am though. It's funny, but I feel bad.
So, is there ever a
Most
chance
abused
that
NPC I've ever had in any game?
So, is there any chance that on the occasion when we pull Mort up, he has a fish biting him that we can just harvest?
I would say on more than one occasion he's had fish somehow latched to him through this.
Crabs. and
Between
stuff.
him being thrown overboard and dragged, tied to the mast, and just generally keelhauled at this point.
We've made a bad guy at this point. We just don't know it yet.
Oh no. If he wasn't going to be BBEG before,
I'm
he is
taking
now.
alignment hits every time he goes in the drink, I think.
I guess I could test out that new ability on him.
At this point, he's also starting to get used to it. He brings along like a reed he's carved out so he can breathe while being dunked.
Oh my god.
If anything, we're leveling him up. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It's his
You-
milestone leveling, baby.
Wait a minute. You don't get XP for taking damage.
It's milestone
This is
leveling.
emotional damage.
So the
This man's
question,
psyche is being broken.
the real question
Yeah,
is,
we're fucking
has
waterboarding.
his spirit been broken? Is he willing to cooperate and
It
be part
sounds
of the
like
crew
it.
yet?
Well, it's okay.
Sounds
Each time he gets pulled up, Evan just wraps him up in a blanket and puts him on his way.
The problem is he's not one to cow. Every one of these is just making his resolve stronger that he should be captain, because how dare the captain waterboard a member of his own crew?
The problem is the captain's half the time not even doing it. It's just happening.
But he thinks it is, and Alton's
know.
perpetuating it.
The crew is just having
I have
just torturing this poor guy, and Andros is half the time isn't even aware it's happening.
bad.
I mean,
It's bad.
imagine halfway through this, the crew's just on it, like in on it at this point, and they're also goading
Oh,
him
yeah.
in. I could see
Oh, yeah.
Carjack and the rest of the
Oh
crew
yes,
just
they
getting with
would.
it.
Yep.
That's part of the
No,
reason
he's-
why I picked them.
Yeah.
No, they're
We're
practicing
warping
how to
this
get
fragile
someone
little
out.
mind.
They're practicing how to get someone from overboard, so that when one of the PCs or NPCs we care about goes overboard, then they know how to get them out.
I mean, ultimately, it probably would be the BBEG that we're kind of turning him into, except it's not. He's going to become the BBG. He's just going to join them, and then hopefully his ineptitude actually helps us in the end because he's trying to help the BBG. and
I
then,
don't
like,
know.
It's more. Come on.
It's gonna be have
With
you seen that one Borderlands meme or whatever of that boss? The big
No.
scientist. I don't know if it's DLC, but it's this big
Oh,
scientist
the
guy.
scientist that goes down the stairs and dies flying down the stairs.
Yeah, it's this big boss fight. Leads up to it. He like has this big spiel or whatever, then falls down the stairs and dies. He takes hit every time he hits down the stairs and dies at your feet.
Oh, it's like Dr. Taka something.
Yeah. That's more in a nutshell. He's gonna get this huge big like setup, this huge big like BBG moment, and just kills himself off.
Yeah, massive speech,
Nakayama, here I found it.
rousing, massive,
He has a
speech and
speech.
like, yeah, reveal of
Takeyamas or
his
something?
master
No,
plan.
it'll be even better as if he has a speech, but then he sees a tie-off that goes into the water, and he's like, "Oh, he's been conditioned so well." He just goes over to the tie-off and throws himself over.
It just traumatizes him.
Yeah, it's bad.
So
Oh
we
yeah,
have
you hosted the video. Yeah, that's the video of the.
we have Dragon Mist, we have Dracolich Mist, and we have Void
Maelstrom.
Maelstrom Teleport Rift.
With that, I gotta get going. Thank you for the session, Salty.
Good night.
Good night, guy.
Good night.
Hi.
Someone has a job interview tomorrow.
Yay,
Oh, good
good
luck.
luck, Key.
Pop, pop, pop.
Good luck.
Thank you.
We will
Hey,
pick
Salty,
up-
can I ask for one quick hand wavy thing?
Shh. Depends.
All I was going to ask was that at some point during the downtime on this ship, I wanted to take the handful of miscellaneous plants that I grabbed while Zidane and I were talking and just try to do something with them.
Yeah. We can do that. I also have the potions you got too.
Awesome.
So you got. Can. What's this? So you got. She gave you 2, 3, 4 potions. 4 potions. She gave you a potion of tongues. Upon use, you can speak up to. You can speak 3 additional languages. You just don't know which
Ooh.
languages they'll be.
Oh, okay.
For 1d10 days. A greater
Oh.
potion of healing, so 44 plus 4 healing. Potion of animal friendship, though it has a very peculiar smell to it.
Okay.
And a potion of dwarven strength.
Oh, what does
that's
that one
right.
do?
It will give you plus 4 strength mod for 1d4 hours.
Oh,
and
nice.
a matching
Okay.
beard to match that.
Oh, God.
Oh.
It's dwarven strength.
Beer appealing?
Pure healing.
For 1d4 hours, you said?
Yes, for 1d4 hours you gain plus 4 strength. Oh, no, I'm sorry, plus 4 strength, not strength mod. Plus 4 strength. And you grow a full braided dwarven beard.
It's like the
With-
the belt
oh.
of dwarven strength is similar to that. Yeah. I think
It's
so.
similar. It's a potion.
Yeah.
So does it
Is the
at
thing that
least
it's in
match?
engraved with by
Does
the
it at least
power
match
matches
my
your hair
natural?
color.
Okay.
It matches your natural hair color,
No, it's a
All
bright
right.
ginger red.
but it is not gender biased. Male or female, you will grow a luxurious dwarven beard.
I mean, I choose to believe that female dwarves have beards too, so
Yeah.
that makes sense.
They got
All
that
right.
5 o'clock shadow.
And
So
just for
worst.
Key's benefit, it will look exactly like Thunderhand's beard.
was gonna say.
I imagine that if I'm the one to relay that, she's gonna get or rip my spine out again and start beating me with it, just like she's
You
about
need
to. For
Dan,
not
you
killing
have
how
a
me.
many
weird connection with women who want to kill you.
Yes, I. Yes.
He's got a
So-
When
snoo
you-
kink, let's be honest.
Yeah. When you drink the potion, you have to say, "By the power of Thunderhand's beard," then down it.
Thunderhand's beard.
so anyway, so these herbs that I got,
Wait, I think
can
I can hear slapping through the
Yeah,
through the mic.
go ahead and roll me a
Good night, everyone.
good night.
Night,
Go
Zidane.
ahead and just roll
Or
me a quick
Zerg.
You did it too, Raina.
I did.
is it medicine? Brain? Medicine or
Uh,
something?
Nature?
Oh, please don't make it nature. I only have a +1.
Oh,
but-
I mean, I guess you could say it would be a roll with your tool proficiency.
yeah,
That's
because
what I
I've
was
got.
looking for, yeah. Like a tool proficiency, see how much you're able to salvage from it. My brain is going back to 3.5 because I think medicine checks are 3.5.
Looking at the verbiage of my herbalism kit here. Medicine checks are just my ability to heal people. Nature and survival.
Whatever, I guess it would use the herbalism kit. So I guess it would be nature or survival for the herbalism kit.
I'm gonna do survival then because that is better. And do I get to roll with advantage or?
No, because I'm just gonna go. I mean, yeah, I guess the kit enables that. Go ahead and roll advantage for it.
Cool.
I guess that's what the kit technically is enabling.
Yeah, I think it's
21.
The answer is very no-go. Very wanted.
me.
I guess we can find out.
Yeah, okay, so 21. So go ahead and roll me a d6.
Okay. 4.
Okay. I will say that you are able to create so you got, we'll say 4, roll me one more d6.
Okay.
Sorry. Trying to...
Another 4.
Okay. Fine. That works. Okay, so you got, ooh, jeez whiz, 4 potions of healing at +4.
Nice. Okay.
So, I think it's what, 2d4 + 4 kind of deal?
Okay.
For standard potion healing?
Yeah, I think so.
So, because these are kind of custom potions you made at higher skill, so yours are actually coming out at decent refinement using these materials.
Okay, cool. Out of curiosity, this potion of tongues, like, what determines what languages it gives me?
The dice.
My dice?
Like you. Oh, it's just okay. It's just a dice roll. Great.
Yep.
That'll be fun.
Yep, so you'll speak some random extra languages for a bit. Which could be fun.
That could be fun.
Yeah, I kind of rolled like 2 useful, well, I rolled some useful ones and I had a bit of a fun one that she created, so.
Okay, cool. Looking forward to that.
Yep.
Thank you. That's all.
Okay. We'll pick up with kind of debarking to Tilbrook in this misty, hazy atmosphere. I was gonna say misty, hazy mist, and realized I feel like that's a common thing I do. But yeah,
Adjectives.
adjectives. How do they even work?
Why
but
do
yeah.
we only need one?
In the time you've been gone, another presence has been steadily growing since the time you've run from it. So.